My name is Larry Hawks. I'm a 1988 graduate of Edmonson County High School. Proud to be from Edmonson County because it's a great place to live. If I had to describe Edmonson County in a word, home. I've lived in Edmonson County my entire childhood.
When Larry was little, he was always a good kid. I mean, you know, he never got into trouble. He never caused us any problem, never was in the trouble with the law or unless maybe it was a speeding ticket.
Yeah, I knew at the age of 5 I was going to be a soldier, so that's what I did. You can shoot a running squirrel with a 22, everything else is cake.
He's quick on his feet. He's when you give him something and you come at him with something snappy to say, he can answer you like that.
Probably my biggest influence growing up in life, probably my father.
He would be smiling from ear to ear because he was very proud of him. He told him when he left to go to war, he said, son, do whatever it takes, but get home.
But the story that Darren wrote, getting the Distinguished Service Cross, that's when I first picked up on it and started researching.
But as a mother, your heart breaks when you don't know where he is, what he's doing, if he's safe, if he's had something to eat, if, and especially in wartime, if you're going to get to see him again. It's heart-wrenching.
Eagle 76s, Fox 24, troops in contact. Say again, troops in contact.
If you want to know about July 24th and 25th, Uruzgan Province, Afghanistan, how long is this video? We started that day probably about 02 in the morning. We had had intel. There was a small village across the river, Helmand River. Formulated a plan, came up with the plan. We knew there was a ferry site that you had to use to get across the river. I don't know if there's any pictures in there of that, but so we knew the guy that ran the ferry was with the bad guys. So we just showed up a little early, sent a couple guys across the river, detained him, took the ferry, started shuttling part of the force across. When I say force, you would think it would be a huge strike force. Typical ODA, Operational Attachment Alpha, has 12 members. We had 8. Village we're going to, there's no roads, there's no blacktop roads because nobody has a car. So you don't need roads, so it's pretty much just paths, and some of them really narrow. And it's in a bowl, like a horseshoe cut out in the mountains where it's at. And it's just rocks on top of rocks. As I come out of the wadi, as Bob's coming out, that's when all hell breaks loose. So about 80 guys, PKM machine guns, RPGs, just giving it what they got. Talking within 30, maybe closer than that, we're probably within 30 feet of these guys. I go from about 5 miles an hour negotiating rocks to about 55 miles an hour. Still negotiating rocks, but I'm a little more motivated to do so at this point. You can see the actual guy shooting the RPG at me and landing behind Bob, because now it went from a 5 mile an hour slow target to a 55 plus mile an hour fast target. When you're in the kill zone, that's the last place you want to be. So they call it, it's got that name for a reason. I heard Bruce come on the radio. He's like, hey man, they got me. I'm pinned down, I can't move. So he's still in the wadi, pinned down. All this chaos still going on. I pull up here, park my four-wheeler, still running, just set the brake. And above me up in the cave, the guys, the PKMs and RPGs, had linked up with their buddies there, and they start firing down on us.
At this very moment, Larry had a fraction of a second to make one of the hardest decisions a Green Beret could make. To stay in his current location, where he was somewhat protected, or to willingly displace and expose himself in order to save my life. At this time, the concentration of fire on Sir First Class Hawks' position was increasing. As enemy fire rounds skipped all around him, and with no regard for his own personal safety, Sir First Class Hawks made a courageous decision to act when his brother needed him the most.
Intense would be an understatement. At that point, I could see Bruce. He was off his ATV, and and he'd crawled back, and he was shooting back, and the ambush line was still shooting him. They'd broke a five-man maneuver element off to flank him toward the open. So these guys were holding him down, and these guys were going to flank him and fix him. So I'm like, all right. The RPG gun, they're back there, and they're laughing and having a good old time as they're shooting at Bruce. And I'm like, well, you know what's funny? This. And I just opened up on him with a machine gun. Once we're all three there, the focus of fire from the town is on us. Come in, we start clearing buildings. I tell Bob, I'm like, hey, we got some infantry shooting guys. So he goes, well, you know where's that? I'm like, got a good idea. I said, you start this end, I'll start this end. We both have machine guns. And I said, we'll just sweep the trees.
To the world, he's a man. But to a mama, that's her boy.
In the course of his 25-year career, Master Sergeant Retired Larry Hawks deployed to multiple theaters of combat, conducted hundreds of combat missions, saved the lives of numerous people, conducted over 1,500 high-altitude parachute jumps, and dropped millions of dollars in munitions. Hawks located and destroyed hundreds of improvised explosive devices and destroyed thousands of tons of enemy ordnances and equipment. During his combat tours, he survived hundreds of rocket attacks and mortar attacks from enemy forces, and survived the complete malfunction of a parachute and helicopter crashes. Hawks has received multiple awards and decorations over the course of his career.
Trained in combat hand to hand, men who fight by night and day, courage takes from the green beret, silver wings upon their chest. These are men of America's best. 100 men will test today, but only 3 win the green beret. Back at home, a young wife waits, a green beret.